2004, time travel is a reality. Now, one man...
You ever hear the name Aaron McComb?
...is about to take the ultimate power trip.
He's gonna be president.
You don't need the press, you don't need endorsements, you don't even need the truth. You need money.
But to enforce the laws of time...
Are we still together in 10 years? Am I dead?
One man is determined to stop him.
I cannot go back to save her. This scumbag is not going back to steal money.
Stay here, Walker. My future, you're dead.
I think you planned too far ahead.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello, people.
This week, we discuss the 1994 science fiction classic, Timecop, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. You got Ron Silver, Mia Sara. It's an all-star cast, kind of. Sweet Jesus. What are your initial thoughts and feelings of Time? Actually, give us your 30-second synopsis, Aaron. Let's just jump right in.
All right. JCVD.
Yep.
Probably his way to jump the shark film.
Yes.
Anyway, he's a cop, and they can't disguise his accent, so we're gonna make fun of it, like a little tiny Arnold Schwarzenegger. Meets girlfriend, everybody's in love, some semi-porn.
Wife.
Bad guys follow you to your house. I don't know, kidnap, rape your wife. House blows up. All right. Now it's the future, and he's a time cop. Oh, yeah, before this, the government discovered time travel, but it's too complicated for anyone to understand or explain. But we're going to need a way to police it. Thank you, Ron Silver, for volunteering. Cut to the future. Now, of course, there's people are breaking all the rules. You got Michael J. Fox. You got the Doc. They're going back to the future.
Not in this movie. A better film, you might argue.
And the most ridiculous part of it is they're just going back to raise funds so Ron Silver can become president. Basically. So Jean-Claude Van Damme, as the honorable man he is, starts shutting that biz down and turning in people left and right, blah, 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 blah. He breaks the own rules for himself, goes back, saves his dead wife because he realizes she was pregnant, saves the world. Ron Silver is not president. Boom.
Beautiful. Very succinct. Easy to follow. Sweet Jesus. When did you ever even heard of this movie, by the way?
I think after I ran out of all the Jackie Chan movies, I started to embrace the JCVD because he is quite athletic and he's one of these dudes who does his own stunts, which I appreciated.
Right.
It's just this one, I believe, is the one. I might have seen this at the theater. This is the one that really jumped the shark. It was way too commercial, not enough of the actual fighting and good stuff.
Well, we have to talk about this because early on, JCVD, frankly, the only kind of VD that you want to catch, if you know what I'm saying.
It sounds like you're getting venereal disease from Jesus Christ.
That's true. He did a lot of low budget stuff. Your blood sports, your kickboxers for a few years. Then he became very mainstream, where he was doing these kind of movies like Hard Target, Universal Soldier, Sudden Death, which came after this. He had a kind of a small window there because I guess the issue with JCVD, as we are always going to refer to him, is there's mystery about his background. He claims to be this karate kickboxing champion from Europe. But people doubt the veracity of those claims. They think he's full of it. Like he was just a dancer from Brussels. You know what I'm saying? Which is why he's able to do these splits so well.
That's what Steven Seagal said. But in the end, Steven Seagal tucked that ponytail between his legs and left.
Well, that's what they say. That's, again, there's a lot of questions. because Seagal, this is a whole different story now. Seagal, we know that he was a black belt in Aikido or whatever, right? We know this for a fact. He was training the celebs. He was doing the Chuck Norris move, where you train the celebs for a few years, then finally some overweight producer goes, "Hey, you should be in movies, kid." Whereas, again, Jean-Claude was just a good-looking guy, super cut, very flexible. That's important, as you might imagine. He was doing those canon movies, those ultra low budget movies, and there was a point where he was actually supposed to be the Predator. He was hired to be the Predator in that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, but there's two problems. He's about 5'8", which is a problem.
Oh, that can't be wrong. According to the internet, he says he's 5'10".
Well,
as they do in Hollywood.
As they do. Whatever the case may be, he's way too small. But the bigger issue is that he was angry that he had to cover his face because that's his moneymaker. You know what? He wanted to be the Predator where it's just Jean-Claude running around in the jungle going, "Hey," with his crazy accent.
French Predator. It's a sex predator is what it was.
the sex predator, exactly. But this Timecop is in that, I'm in the big budget Hollywood movies now, okay, of various degrees of quality. But he's full into this stuff now. I saw this movie in the theater, and I own it on Blu-ray and digital video. So you know I'm a Jean-Claude fan, even though I acknowledge not his best work.
With these kind of movies, you expect to see more fighting. And don't get me wrong, normally I hate car chases and bullshit fighting. I mean, I don't want to see Keanu Reeves, but you have somebody like a Jackie Chan, a Jean-Claude Van Damme, that's why you're here at the show, not to hear him read Shakespeare. And there is very little in this.
Well, and I kind of like it when there's a little bit of give and take. Most of the fights in this movie was like a guy stands there, Jean-Claude walks up and kicks the guy in the face. Fight over. You know what I mean? You're just like, wait patiently for me to kick. And can we talk about how bizarre all the evil henchmen looked like? I mean, one dude looked like a riffraff. I mean, he literally had the bald head with the scraggly hair.
What year did this come out?
94.
My God, because they do look like bad late 80s leftovers. Like, is it Bauhaus? Is he fighting Bauhaus?
Autobahn. Yeah,
Autobahn.
basically. Yeah, it was a lot of. There's this one dude who had he had the sides of his head shaved to the skin, weird old pompadour, mullet with weird braids, big old hoop earrings. A weird leather jacket tied cinched at the waist with a Hawaiian shirt under it and shin guards like he was playing soccer. Who designed this?
Is it 80s Armenian mafia? What is that? I don't know.
It's something like that. Well, and of course, it takes place in the present day of 1994 and in the future of 2004.
All right.
So
is that why we don't really hear about Ron Silver anymore?
Oh, poor Ron Silver. The evil villain, Senator Macomb, President-elect Macomb. Is that what we're supposed to think? Yeah. Oh, sweet. I mean, we're already hip deep in this. Should we jump right into the highlights, or as I call it, WTF?
What, WTF?
I've got 2 full pages, by the way.
I want to ask you is who's better looking? Short-haired past JCVD or future mullet JCVD?
It's not just a mullet either. It's a wind-blown mullet. He
was rocking it, brother. He actually looked younger in the future. He needs to go back to the future.
Right. He was a little scruffier in the future, crazier hair in the future. And when he goes back to meet his wife, she's doesn't recognize him. She's like, "Who are you?" It's me. It's me. Same. Right.
He has better clothes and his hair is a little longer.
A little bit longer.
It was like, What? Who are you? Come on.
Right. They didn't give him gray streaks or anything. I mean, he looked. It's me,
not-
honey.
Frankenfurter coming up. Surprise.
It's me, honey. You recognize me. Of course, I'm doing Arnold Schwarzenegger for some reason.
It's the same thing.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Belgian,
Okay.
Austrian, you know.
Okay, we got to talk about this. His character's name is Max Walker. Okay? I'm Max
Texas
Walker.
Ranger?
Max Walker, Texas Ranger. But of course, he has this crazy accent, so much that even his wife is like making fun of him about his accent. With your accent, who'd understand you? Or so, just make some comment like that. No explanation why he has a crazy accent if his name's Max Walker. And of course, and they do this with Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, no explanation why he's a martial artist at all. Just it's like, because I'm Jean-Claude Van Damme, of course. What do you think I'm doing here? What else? But you think, I mean, I don't know. It's like in Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, half the time they explain why he has a crazy accent. Half the time they do not. When he's the Terminator, he has a crazy accent.
Why even bother? Why even bother? He was our governor, and he couldn't even say the name of the state. So why
California?
Bother?
Yeah, good times. Okay, the movie starts out with a gold heist back during the Civil War that seemingly has nothing to do with anything, just to establish there are people going back in time.
Travel.
Yes, time travel. And the dude, he's got like 2 machine guns, like Uzi kind of things, that he wipes out all these guys with like laser sights. And but of course he doesn't have a tooth. One of his teeth is missing. For who the hell knows why? You're from the future. You can have your teeth 100%. Fixed in the future.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, in the future, you can't fix your teeth? You're toothing? You can't put a chicle in there?
I mean, maybe he's doing kind of a method acting thing. Hey, if I'm going back to the Civil War, I gotta have a crazy tooth. Is that how we're doing it?
Doctor, pull my tooth out.
Just knock one out right out of the front. So then they refer to this is why we need to start the Time Enforcement Commission, because yes, time travel's real and people are messing with time. Basically, they found the gold. It was some kind of arms deal by some terrorist group, was trying to buy arms with stolen Confederate gold. And they say we verified it because we used carbon dating. Now, there's 2 issues with this. Are you ready?
One of the issues is gold is still around. I can go buy currency. I can go buy gold that's old.
Okay, here's what we're talking about. Number 1, if there was some magic method to tell the age of gold, there would be no effect because we didn't wait for it to grow old. We brought it forward through time, right? So there wouldn't be the testing of the age of the gold would be nullified by the fact it was brought forward through time. But none of that matters because carbon dating is used for organic materials. Because as you said, gold has been around. Yeah. This gold has been around.
Gold is a fucking rock. It's a rock. It's been around since the dawn of time.
Exactly.
I carbon dated this gold. It fell to the earth in 1812.
Right. That's how we were able to tell how old the gold was. Good times.
Good one, brother.
Sweet Jesus. So
there are some funky business.
Sweet Jesus. The explanation of time travel in this movie makes no GD sense, as we're going to talk about.
As far as I can tell, there is no explanation except the way you get through time makes no sense, nor how you come back, nor the idea that matter cannot exist in the same place. Well,
right.
Of course not. I would have had to crawl inside you to be in the same place. How could it be in the same place?
Yes. Okay. So let's walk through this. Number 1, they say the rules of this movie are you can only travel backwards in time because the future hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Right? Okay. Except for the fact we see people going back to the future all the time in this movie. So following these rules, the people who go back in time would just be stuck there. Right? It's like, sorry, it's a one-way trip.
Whoa. So what you're saying is they're stuck there because since they're in the past, it causes a ripple in time. Therefore, their present really does not exist.
I didn't make the rules. They just said you can't travel forward in time.
No. They said you can't go into the future.
They didn't say the future. I don't know what the future.
Your present is not your future.
Right.
So here's the question. When you come back from the past, do you arrive at the same minute you left? Because unless you do, you are in fact traveling into the future.
I don't know the
5
answer to
minutes
these
later
questions.
would be a future that you were not part of.
That's a good question. We do not know how this works.
No. Nor do they, apparently.
Well, and okay. So the the method of time travel is you get in this car, or like a rocket car of some sort.
This makes no sense. Where does the car go? Where does the car go, Kevin?
I wrote that down. You ride, so you go in the car and it shoots you forward, and then the car disappears. And then when you arrive, you're not arriving in a car. You're just kind of appearing in space or dropping out of the sky or something along those lines.
What's preventing you from landing in the middle of a building? What movie was that where people would be halfway stuck through solid objects?
I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
You know
Good
what
Lord.
I mean? Because at one point, they just drop from the sky into a lake. What's to stop you from, I don't know, falling off a cliff, falling into traffic, falling into the lion's den, falling into the piranha pit?
The lion's den, the alligator pit. It's kind of cagey because sometimes Ron Silver or JCVD just kind of coolly enter the scene. Right? And then one time when they go back in time, they literally just drop out of the sky into the Potomac or something. With no explanation. It's like, I'm not sure how this works. Again, there's no car when they appear. Except, I guess, when they go back to the future, then they hit a button on like a remote control. And then they disappear. Then they're magically back in the car. When they come back.
The car makes no sense. They could have fallen through something, walked through a door. Wasn't there that terrible movie about the giant sphere and you walk through and it was a portal or something? They could have done that.
It's very easily just a door. Stargate or something, right?
Yeah.
It would have been very easy to do that. Instead, I guess
if it was a door and you just knocked. But then you have to have a dial or something. But the one thing that was good is I liked when they came and went. There was some cute computer graphics where like the image stretched out and snapped back like a ripple.
Right.
I did like that.
That was an interesting effect. Yeah. But I mean, they could have had that both ways, right?
Without the stupid car.
Without the crazy rocket engine. Right.
Right.
It makes no GD sense. So that's another issue, right? And then there's a lot of people going into the past, changing the future, then going back to the future and not being seemingly like they still remember the original past, but everybody around them is changed and altered in ways that don't make sense. There's the scene. So Ron Silver, he's the guy who's like the senator in charge of the commission that governs the Time Enforcement Commission, but he's also running for president. And he says, all you need to win the presidency is money. You just need money. You don't need any other, so you can buy commercial spots, I guess is what he's saying.
Yeah.
So he's the villain. He's going back in time, like you said, to get enough money to pay for his presidential campaign, I guess, while at the same time saying we should shut down the Time Enforcement Commission.
Right.
And
What we find out is future self tells past self, get on that committee and volunteer.
Right. Absolutely. And it really makes it makes no sense for a whole host of reasons. At one point, he's like, we need to go back and get more money. Goes back in time, changes the future, and yet his henchmen still remember everything. It should be he goes back and each time everything's affected. Right?
Yeah, that only applies to Jean-Claude Van Damme. When he goes back and comes back, nobody knows what he's talking about. But for Ron Silver, everybody's on point.
Right. At one point, it's like Jean-Claude comes back and his boss barely remembers him. Were we friends? I don't remember we were friends. When nothing that happened in the past should have affected that relationship.
Right.
Like they knew each other from before the Time Enforcement Commission. Like literally there's a scene back in 1994 where Jean-Claude's like, oh, Matuzak has called me and he wants me to join the Time Enforcement Commission, blah, 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 whatever it is. So it's like they have a previous relationship. Another thing that's
How about boss? You should be aware there should be a poster. You're dealing with time travel. So maybe you should be aware of that. So when people say strange things, maybe think, does this have anything to do with time travel? Not to mention the fact, why did the government build all these portals once they realized? I mean, once they had the information, you would think they would shut this shit down.
Well, and that's the thing. Ron Silver at one point says, like, we should just, instead of, spending all this money trying to police time travel, we should just prevent it. And I kept thinking, and how would one prevent it without having a police force to police it?
Yeah, why would they have built all these portals anywhere? And are you saying all the bad people have one of these giant tunnels with the crazy car? Or are they just using the one car? Is it like the space shuttle?
Yes, the crooks come in and get their time in on the machine as well.
Well,
but that's the thing.
They are time cops.
They are, exactly. Well, but there are other crooks. Remember, there's the Middle Eastern terrorists stealing Confederate gold. Did they also borrow the government's time travel machine? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how. Yeah, now these portals that no one understands but this dude. So don't even ask questions about how this works. But we have people who can build these things everywhere, all over the world.
Well, and that's the other thing. Later in the movie, they're like, "Well, how is McComb even doing this? We've got the only time travel machine." And it's like,
so what?
We've already established you don't.
Yeah.
Oh, the prototype was never taken apart. We can literally sift through this craziness for hours because it makes no GD sense.
And honestly, when I saw this at the theater, none of this stuff occurred to me. It just washed over me.
That's, and frankly, it's a better way to live. If you just let it wash over you, then it's all fine. The moment you start putting it, sweet Jesus. I had a big issue with the future tech of the year 2004. This is a big issue that whenever they're like, half this movie takes place 10 years in the future, and then they totally change society at a fundamental level.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like all the crazy weapons they use are like totally different. Like the cars they drive are totally.
The cars they drive are shit. Yet all the old Victorian neighborhoods are all exactly the same.
Oh God, they drive these driverless cars that look like they're made out of Legos. I mean, they're so maybe take a little more time.
Hoses. It's ridiculous.
Yes, it looked like total crapola. It was like some kind of maniac. It's like, well, hey, it's the future. And all the guns that they had looked like crazy Nerf guns that were painted black. I mean, it was, who's designing this stuff? Some kind of a psychopath? Horrible. Horrible. Oh, I got to talk about this. So at the beginning of the movie, Jean-Claude has just been told, hey, come join the Time Enforcement Commission or whatever.
Right.
And he's like, okay, honey, his wife is pregnant. She doesn't tell him. And he has to leave in the middle of the night to go deal with crime because he's a DC police officer at this point. And the evil, crazy bikers, or whatever they are, with the hoop earrings and the Hawaiian shirts, shoot him. But of course, he's wearing a bulletproof vest, which I guess they didn't notice.
Right.
And then grab the wife. And then the building explodes. The house explodes. Boom.
That didn't make
God.
sense to me. Explodes with them in it?
Explodes with them in it. And Jean-Claude, again, not killed. We later discover they were sent back in time by the evil Senator McComb to kill him before he can join the Time Enforcement Commission and therefore be a thorn in the side of Senator McComb at this point. Because there's backstory leading into this movie where he already suspects McComb of being a bad guy.
Right. When he captured his partner, he let it leak that it was McComb.
Right. So, but here's the thing. He failed to kill the guy. He failed to kill Jean-Claude Van Damme. And instead murdered his wife. So now he's like super dedicated because he has nothing else going on.
Right.
And then they never try to kill him again for 10 years.
Yeah, good point, friend. Why don't they just keep, it's like Groundhog Day. You just keep going back and working out that scenario until it works out.
You could. I mean, there's no rule against it. You sent them back 10 years ago to murder him. You failed. And then you're like, we'll get around to, I guess. Yeah. Someday we'll. It's like, what in the hell is happening?
I had a comment from that same scene, and where she's telling him, don't go. See, it reminded me, Caesar's wife told him not to go to the Senate.
That's right. He says, I have to. It's my job. Yeah.
Well, remember, when Becky says, no, don't go to work, you need to mind it.
Trust me, she wouldn't even have to ask me twice. Honey, don't go to, hey, let me stop you right there. I'm in. Whatever it is. Good Lord. No, there's... At one point, they do attempt to assassinate Jean-Claude in the present of 2004. They send two weird assassins to his apartment. And Jean-Claude is just wearing his boxer briefs. And the one dude is like this really nerdy looking assassin who's got like a taser gun or something where it shoots out the taser darts. And of course, during the tussle, Jean-Claude knocks over his, what is that stuff? Sparklets water spraying all over the floor. So then he jumps out of the way. He jumps up on the counter and does the splits, because that's what you just automatically do. And the nerdy guy misses him and shoots the darts into the ground, into the puddle, and electrocutes himself. It was the crazy. Meanwhile, there's another guy that he's fighting with. Again, they're doing crazy knife fights. 5 minutes later, he tells his boss, 2 guys just tried to kill me, and his boss doesn't seem to give a damn. He's just like, whatever, you got a job. We got to go back in time. By the way, IA is here to investigate you for some reason. She can go with you, whatever. No one cares. I was just almost murdered in my apartment. Good times.
No.
Don't
care. And then the people investigating you are trying to kill you too.
Everybody's on the take, including internal affairs, which is very complicated. One of the techs working at the TEC, who's in charge of the time travel machines, is just full-blown watching porn at work. And again, no one cares. They kind of threaten, oh, come on, not again. They did one of those deals.
I think the techs have been doing that for years, for decades.
I mean, again, not in his private office, right? He's like literally at the switchboard for the time travel machine with his VR goggles on in front of God and everybody. At least excuse yourself for 5 minutes, you jackass.
That's terrifying.
You sick bastard.
You sick bastard is right.
Very upsetting. What else? Is there anything else we need to know? Oh, yes. There's a scene. You can jump in anytime you like. I mean, it's one ridiculous moment after another.
Well, the one part I liked, I will tell you,
Go ahead.
is when he goes back in time with the IA investigator. At one point, he freezes this dude's arm and he gives it a
Yes.
chop and it like shatters like glass. And that was pretty rock
Yeah.
and roll. There were a couple of video effects. I'm sure that and the ripple was 3/4 of their budget.
Oh, easy.
This was 94. This stuff's expensive.
Oh, sweet Lord. There is the scene where he's in the hospital back in 1994 trying to find evidence that that woman existed anymore, and he finds like a blood sample or whatever. She's quickly murdered. It's like, who gives a damn? No one cares.
Right.
They kill her. And then like security's chasing Jean-Claude Van Damme and he's running to get away and he literally just jumps out the window. He didn't stop to look. He's on a high-rise hospital building. Runs, dives right out the window. 10th floor, 20th floor. Who's to say when?
I will
Maybe take
tell
a
you
look.
that healthy ass that we see over and over again is what
Yes.
saved him.
Saves the day. Well, this is Jean-Claude knows where his bread is buttered because it's all
And
ass
it's between
play.
two buns, I guess.
He got more buns than a bakery. No, it's. I used to laugh because there were certain actresses that you would see in these movies who were like beautiful, like really attractive when they were like 20, but now that they're kind of pushing 50, they still want the world to know that they have certain attributes. Like Barbara Streisand, if you see The Prince of Tides, there are 5 shots of her showing off her legs. Yes,
Right.
I have beautiful legs. I get it.
But no one loves me because I'm not beautiful.
Right.
Fucking
Goldie
Barbra
Hawn.
Streisand.
In the late 80s, Goldie Hawn had multiple scenes where it's like, here's a close-up of my ass. Because I want you to know, yes, I'm pushing 50. Still, you can bounce a quarter off my ass. That's basically what Jean-Claude Van Damme is sporting throughout his entire career. It's like there'll be multiple scenes where I'm here in my jockey shorts showing off my Buddha. You're going to get a full gander. I mean, and if I can show it off while I'm doing the splits, so much the better. That's how he rolls.
Mm-hmm.
There's that, and you talked about this, the bizarre Red Shoe Diaries love montage where he's with his wife. They meet at the mall or whatever, and then promptly they're like, "We got to go have sex right now. I can't control. It's midday. Let's handle our biz."
Oh my god.
And it's a musical sex montage. 10 minutes into this movie, they just jump right in.
Can I show you my ass a couple more times and the splits I can do?
Thankfully, he did not do that during the sex montage, or it would have been a bridge too far.
Is that the
Good
director's
Lord.
cut or the producer's cut?
That's the producer's cut. Sweet Lord.
And I will tell you the only other good part in this movie is at the end where the two Lindsey Grahams finally meet and they're pressed together and it becomes just a big melting crayon with eyes. It was fantastic.
It was basically the climax of Altered States.
But better.
Right.
But better. Exactly. It was
better.
It was like The Thing, but better.
Oh, hang on. Nothing's better than The Thing.
It was literally a melted crayon with eyes. It was fantastic.
Right. Because then they're like, and they never saw Senator McComb again. He disappeared 10 years ago, and who knows?
See, but now it makes me think of Hellraiser, and it's like stuck on the floorboards waiting for something to drip through. Remember it, Hellraiser?
That's what it is.
Remember that? He's like, his bones are under the floor. Boom.
Are you ready for behind the scenes?
I am.
Okay, buckle up. There ain't much, frankly. A lot of this is the time travel rules in this movie make no sense.
Yeah.
Carbon dating is bullshit.
Right.
What are you talking about?
I don't think carbon dating in itself is bullshit.
Carbon dating. Look, the world is only 10,000 years old.
But you don't want to like carbon date your computer or that rock you found in the backyard.
Well, you have to have carbon in it to carbon date it. It can't just be sweet. Okay, moving on
Let
with
me
our
ask
lives.
you. Okay, wait a minute.
Please.
So, like, if I was a Beverly Hillbilly and I found oil, black gold Texas tea,
Texas tea.
could I carbon date that? Because isn't that based on organic material, right? Because
It is. It
it's
is.
crushed up dinosaurs and old plants.
I think you could,
It's the
right?
black-
Coal is like that too,
Yeah.
right?
Anthracite. It's the black stuff that's at the bottom of your trash can, but over time.
Over time, add pressure and time.
There you go.
The film is based
I'm
upon
gonna
a
call
dark.
it a trash can diamond.
Please do. The film is based upon the Dark Horse comic book series of the same name. You know it, don't you?
Did you watch those? Donnie Darko, Tex, all those weird bullshit comics.
Look, I always tell people, basically, I'm a Marvel DC guy. I didn't read a lot of the lesser, no offense if you're listening, the lesser comic book brands. So this
Fritz
could have
the
been
cat.
not so much. Fritz the cat. This is the second Van Damme movie to cross 100 million worldwide, where he's the solo star.
Right.
So there you go. This was a huge hit. This was a huge hit.
Everybody was biz buzzing. Jean-Claude was at his apex. They had money for special effects, not for story, but for special effects. And boom, this was big. He was a big star.
He was huge. Well,
he was so big they brought him back for the Expendables, although he had a freakishly misshaped body.
No, that was 100 years later.
Yeah.
The craziest thing, he had, no offense, Jean-Claude, if you're listening, I don't know if he had plastic surgery on his face. His face looks crazy. Crazy.
It still looks better than, poor old Mickey Rourke.
Well, Mickey Rourke was a boxer. He took a lot of shots right to the nose.
Well,
so he's doing what he can.
and the bad plastic surgery, I think.
It's a bad combination.
It's a bad combination.
Combination. Sweet Lord. No, but Jean-Claude had like this apex in the 90s, but he fell by the end of the 90s. His career was over.
I hope he saved money. I hope so
too. The fight scenes in the last act of the film, where it's just like there's the old Jean-Claude and the young Jean-Claude, there's the old Ron Silver and the youngish Ron Silver.
Where they look almost the same.
Are you supposed to be his father? No, we look exactly the same.
That's my twin brother.
That's my twin. They use their stunt doubles to help facilitate that, so that they would be on stage and the stunt double would be on the screen as well.
Not the terrible split screen like they used to do, like in the soap operas when there was an evil twin, where there'd be magically like a post between them or something.
Make no mistake, they were doing some of that with this movie as well. Sweet Lord. His hairstyle, the windswept mullet, was partially based on Wolverine's hair from the X-Men comic books.
All right.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Now that you say that, it kind of does.
Yep. Let's see. In the beginning of the mall scene, the wife Melissa's wandering around. If you listen in the background, you can hear Chicago's big hit. Does anyone know what time it is?
Does anyone really care?
Let's see. Is there anything else? This is all a bunch of BS. This was the first movie for Jean-Claude directed by Peter Hyams, who went on to direct him in Sudden Death. And this is interesting, I guess, because Jean-Claude went on to say that he was the only person who came to visit him in rehab. This director.
Oh, well, that's nice, I guess. That because you're an asshole is what that means.
Right. I mean, the only person, a guy who directed you in a couple movies, is like, hey.
Not your 4 wives, not your 4 children,
Very upsetting.
Oh yeah, and then I read on top of all that, does it seem like everyone is bipolar? Am I crazy?
Yes.
Everyone is bipolar, yes. Adam
Wild mood swings.
JCVD. Yeah.
It's a sad situation.
Right. Is it
see.
the silicone chips in our vax that's causing all this?
That does it every time. I ain't gonna lie. The virtual reality porno video was originally supposed to be a nature documentary about beavers.
Oh,
However,
it was about beavers.
whoa! However,
Do people
the
even say
option-
that? Is that even a term?
we got to bring it back.
There you go.
The off-site film team that was supposed to film the nature documentary was out drinking at strip clubs late and basically forgot to do it. So in a hasty moment, they grabbed a stripper from the club and filmed that scene instead.
Honestly, there's no stock footage of wildlife. Isn't that Ed Wood? His whole career is based on making a movie by streaming in stock footage. I mean, there's no stock footage. I had to go send a crew out to film beavers. And speaking of beavers in the derogatory term, I don't understand why they call it a beaver.
We're not going to get into that. Aaron.
I don't know.
Okay.
Do you know the answer? Or are you just
It's
guessing?
furry? I mean, what am I, an expert on
I
this?
got a grizzly bear, you know.
Well, hopefully you do not.
It's the 70s. I just don't understand. Maybe there's something that I am missing.
I think it just sounded funny at the time.
All right.
I mean, whatever. Why are we talking about this?
I'm going to change it up and we're going to call it a wombat.
Yeah, I will not be doing that. Are you ready to talk about the cast?
I'm going to try it out next time I get a wax. I'm like, trim the wombat.
That's a bridge too far. Anywho, Max Walker was played, of course, by Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask
please.
JCVD, what happened to him in The Expendables? Remember,
what do you mean?
He showed up and his arms were so freakishly out of proportion with the rest of his body. Do you remember that?
Basically what happens with these guys, and this is, if you look at
he's
crazy
very balanced
Stallone
here. You can tell he's not tall. He's got a stop. He's short. You can tell. He's not 5'10". I bet he's probably 5'7", 5'6".
Yeah, in lifts.
But he's proportioned. I mean, isn't that the goal of the bodybuilder? You don't want chicken legs and freak arms. And when JCVD shows up in The Expendables, he's got like these Hulk smash arms with a normal body and legs.
I just think it's like when you're old, you just do what you can do. I mean, it's hard to run, be doing clean jerks and thrusts and squats. I'm not an expert. I don't even know if these are workout routines.
Now it sounds like you're talking about the wombat with all that.
Gary Shandling is like clean jerk. I usually do it the other way. Sweet Jesus. Okay, moving on. Jean-Claude Van Damme, you know him from Double Impact, Double Team, Kickboxer, and then he was in a movie that was literally called JCVD. So check that out.
Let me ask you this
Jesus.
question. What's the best JCVD movie?
I love Bloodsport. So you might have to go back to the beginning. Bloodsport is dynamite. But I tell you what, I really like Sudden Death.
That was
Terrorists
after
have taken over the hockey. Yes. They take over the hockey rink. Powers Booth is the evil guy. I enjoy Sudden Death. But I would definitely say Bloodsport, the original classic.
All right.
So there you go. Mia Sara played Melissa, the wife.
She's so odd looking. She has the beaver teeth.
Poor Mia Sara. You know her primarily from.
Ferris
do you know what she's from?
Bueller.
So that was her big claim to fame. She was Sloane Peterson, Ferris Bueller's girlfriend in the original movie. And that was kind of her big claim to fame. She was also in such things as Legend with Tom Cruise back in 1985 and a bunch of other things I'm unfamiliar with. It was kind of shocking seeing her in this because I hadn't seen her in Zippity Doodah for 10 years. Who else? Ron Silver, of course. The Star playing Senator McComb. You know him from Silent Rage, for God's sakes. Obviously, Timecop, The Arrival, Reversal of Fortune.
Reversal of Fortune! And every episode of Law and Order, he always played somebody.
Bruce McGill played Matuzak, the boss of the Time Enforcement Commission.
Clearly named after John Matuzak.
He most famously, in my mind, is he played D-Day in Animal House.
Yep.
He was also in such things as Law Abiding Citizen, My Cousin Vinny.
Yep.
Good times. Gloria Rubin played Fielding, the IA agent. You know her because she was on, wasn't she on? Let me look here. She was on ER, I thought, for quite a while there. Of course, that's not one of the
she's been on a bunch of stuff for sure. She was very familiar.
She was in Lincoln. More recently, she was in Mr. Robot, Admission, Falling Skies. I'm unfamiliar with any of these things.
Should I see Mr. Robot? Did you see? That seems like a Kevin show.
I haven't seen it, but it got good reviews. So that's all you need to know. I think that's all we need to know. Shall we talk about the ratings? Buckle up.
All right.
Timecop currently has 45% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, but that's okay. The audience gave it 36%. Very upsetting.
That is fascinating. I remember really enjoying it. And this time, I thought there were some slow areas. I really wasn't overanalyzing. I'd make my notes and just kind of let it wash. It was a little slow at parts, but I wouldn't say, especially considering the year this was made, I'm surprised it wasn't nominated for an Oscar.
Well, I remember liking it more, frankly. But you're right. There are definitely parts where you're just like, what the? Let me take a look.
It's like going to see a comedian and then he tells you how his mom has cancer and starts crying. That's not why you're here. There needed to be more fighting.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Gene Siskel.
Maybe more ass, but definitely more fighting and balanced fighting. Not just him kicking people's asses. But
better fight scenes. More of them, no question. Gene Siskel gave it.
Shut up! There was that one scene where he's fighting the dude and he walks up over the wall. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, when he was back in the 20s or whatever, or not the 20s, whatever
the 30s,
it was.
1929, the stock market.
Stock market crash. There you go. Gene Siskel gave it 2 out of 4 stars, saying Van Damme is compelling only when he takes his clothes off.
Well, he is compelling in that case too.
Yep.
Ooh, he
Janet
on
Maslin.
Game of Thrones. How about that?
Why not? Janet Maslin gave it 3 out of 5, which is considered fresh. Years of tireless persistence have begun to work in Mr. Van Damme's favor. It's hard not to enjoy his energy, even if his acting gifts still leave a lot to be desired.
That's not his energies that she's rating.
Roger Ebert, 2 out of 4 stars. He says, Timecop, a low-rent Terminator, is the kind of movie that is best not thought about at all, for that way lies madness.
All right. If you compare this to what's that Taco Bell Stallone movie? Which one's better?
Demolition Man?
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed Demolition Man more.
Because it's campy.
Because it's campy. It's more fun.
I found all the product placement so offensive.
Well, but they make a point to kind of point it out. You know what I mean? That it is kind of ridiculous. I just think it's more fun.
All right. Well, I can see that. This one's trying to be serious.
This is trying to be a little bit more serious. So what is your rating for Timecop?
Well, I am going to have to give it, because it's not terrible.
No, not at all.
If you're a fan of the JCVD, and everybody should at least check out a couple of his films, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 wombats.
Sweet Jesus. I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5 crazy mullet, windblown hairstyles with hoop earrings and Hawaiian shirts.
I think we have a brother-in-law that's rocking a JCVD right now.
Oh, no question. It's making a comeback, sweet Jesus.
COVID brought it back.
It's coming back.
Yep. That and the achy breaky heart.
Billy Ray Cyrus. So there you have it. Thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Go to our page on Facebook, The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. You can email us at Gmail at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die at Gmail. And Aaron, we're on the Insta, aren't we?
We are The Podcast That Wouldn't Die on Instagram.
So check that good stuff out. And Aaron, you're also on social media.
Yes, indeedly do. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult.
And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, rate, review, do it all. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Good Pods. All that good stuff.
Did you figure out why we're not on SoundCloud?
Because I'm not trying to put us on SoundCloud.
How dare you?
You can keep
Who
asking.
gave you
but
that
that'll make it fun.
authority? Who gave you that authority? I don't actually. I think I know one person who actually listens to SoundCloud.
And yet you bring it up every episode. Sweet Jesus. Damn your eyes.
I feel like we're like on iHeartRadio and
we are.
Many things. I feel like
we're on Pandora, Amazon Music. We're
like someone who wants an iPhone, but all I could afford was the $50 burner phone from Walmart. I feel like that's the SoundCloud that's sitting out there mocking me.
I guess. Mocking only you. Next time, we're going to be reviewing the horror comedy classic, The Stuff, starring Michael Moriarty and Garrett Morris. So check that out. You can watch that on AMC Plus, Hoopla, Shudder, or Arrow. If you happen to have any of those crazy
Arrow?
apps.
How many more of these bootleg channels do I have to download?
I'm sure you can also find it in your local library.
Pluto, you got me on. There's like Furbo. Hey,
Furbo.
I don't know if you've noticed this. Have you noticed that Sunday sports are so super international? Since when at 9 a.m. are we getting regular Premier League soccer?
I'm not a soccer person. I don't know about Premier League.
It used to be, it was like the World Cup of cricket. Then it's like Premier League all the time.
I think that's the Ted Lasso effect, would be my guess.
Maybe. I don't watch that except when I'm with my parents because I'm not going to fucking subscribe to another thing.
No, it's a pain. It's a pain. So thank you very much. And be well.
Bye, kids.